Hello, fellow Econauts, and welcome back to our show. I'm here with my brother Ben, the Rocketman, and we are talking about space history. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Hey Simon, how's it going? Hey fellow Econauts. Yeah, today we talk about the space shuttle mission and specifically the Challenger disaster.
And my first question is, what was the purpose of the space shuttle mission in general?
I have to dig a bit deeper for this. Before that, we had the Apollo missions, and it was very expensive to launch a rocket at the time. Also, the efforts to do it was very expensive because you couldn't reuse any of the parts. So the idea came up to start reusing some parts. And the space shuttle was the idea was to, yes, you have to launch with still with rockets attached to a spacecraft, but then the spacecraft can land like an airplane and hence be reused. And therefore, the idea was to make space access cheaper and also to be able to do it more rapidly. The other thing was also with the Apollo mission, Super Heavy was always obviously targeted outside of LEO, of low Earth orbit. However, the space shuttle was meant to access low Earth orbit for humans and satellites alike.
What was the goal of the Challenger in that regard?
The Challenger was a spacecraft and had a couple of flights. I think it was 9 flights before the Challenger disaster. The mission at the Challenger disaster time, so that was the 26th of January 1986, was to deliver 2 satellites, one of which was targeting to spectate the Halley comet passing by the sun. I think that was the closest flyby of the sun for the Halley comet, and then should have brought it back. And the other purpose was it was the first time that a teacher, a civilian, was taken with them aboard. And the teacher would have been the first teacher in space, the first astronaut who was not a trained astronaut.
And what is the historical significance of the Challenger mission?
Space economy wise, it showed, first of all, how dangerous space missions are and still, like at that time and still are. And also how a small fact or a small cause can have a very terrible, disastrous effect. So I think it was 2 O-rings, which sort of because the morning was very cold, they didn't seal entirely to gas leaks or to gas tanks from each other. And yeah, that caused the explosion. It was also a huge setback obviously for the space economy. It was a disaster for the families involved. And that was also the first spacecraft, the first American spacecraft, which disintegrated during flight. So it was really, obviously a huge cry out in the world was happening when the disaster happened at the time. Simon, you have been in your teens
Yeah,
around the times.
yeah.
So
I
how
was
have you experienced the whole accident?
Well, so I was a teenager at the time, as you already mentioned, and I think a little backstory here. You already know that I'm a nerd. I have been always interested in
Oh.
Star Trek. No, not a nerd at all. I have always been interested in Star Trek. I was playing sci-fi games like Elite. Sitting in my own spaceship, and for me, when I was like hearing about this mission, knowing that a civilian is on board, a teacher on board of the space shuttle, for me, in my teenage mind, I was already seeing the progress that we will make. I was already imagining how it would be as an adult to commandeer a spaceship, becoming the next Captain Picard, and then I remember when I saw the explosion, at first I was like, oh, thanks God they are in a space shuttle, and the space shuttle is equipped or can fly by itself. That was like my teenage mind thinking, oh, they will be fine. Before I realized it was actually destroyed, and when
Really?
I saw that, and when I realized that all my hopes and dreams were at that moment destroyed as well, because I knew, even if I was not 100% sure, I knew that this would be such a setback, and it would probably not be for a while before another civilian would be on a mission like that. And that was like very, very heartbreaking because, like I said, don't forget that I was a teenager, right? I was like thinking about, maybe I can work in space, I can be, uh, commandeering my own spaceship, because I thought it would be leading to so much more, so much quicker getting a space station on the moon, so much quicker to actually have like jobs in space, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
and that was like a setback, right? And if you really think about it, it actually was. The interest has almost vanished in the normal population, at least. I mean, of course, scientists were always interested in the ISS. Obviously, has been around for many many years, but the I would say like the normal people were not interested in space
The
anymore.
commoner.
The commoner. But you get my point, right? I think we would have
Yes.
been so much further ahead, and it is such a shame. And I think we should take that. Those are heroes, they have been great heroes, even if they vanished. But we should, in their honor, keep pushing. We have to keep pushing, because that's the future of humanity.
Yeah. I think that you made a really good amount of points here. And also, I feel, and that's me being obviously, I was very young at the time, but when I grew up, there was still a fascination for spice, but it was sort of you belong to a smaller group of people. There was not, you know, there was not a huge media debacle for every launch anymore. And I feel that it took really until 2015, 2000
Yeah.
and let's say 2010 plus, so the last decade, when we sort of ramped up a little bit again. And
Yes.
with SpaceX now having their reusability of rockets, and the Crew Dragon, and getting stuff back to the ISS, now the Artemis program and so on. But there was a huge gap in between, and I feel you might be right that this disaster was one of the major impacts on why we had this long break.
I would say like the regular folks were like just going, their regular, day life, and we're not
Yeah.
interested in space anymore, right?
Yeah. Funny enough, though, if you really think of it, the debacle you had at the time for any launch was immense.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I mean, yeah, when Starship launches, that is something a lot of people might watch. But who's watching? I mean, I do, but like from the average person, who nowadays is watching another launch? Like, every month we have at least two launches going on.
Yeah.
Who's watching them? Almost nobody. They're not in media anymore. Nobody reports them, other than if something goes wrong. But you know, but I think that's a good sign. The good sign is now it gets more and more normal. Who's watching an airplane lifting off?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Nobody anymore,
Yeah.
because But back in the days when the brothers Wright were sort of starting to make strides with their flight, everybody was like, "Oh, that's so cool," and then. But nowadays it becomes more and more normal, and also nowadays it becomes more and more common for normal people to go up there, for private companies to provide astronauts. We had just the Axiom mission. The Axiom will be another space station, privately run, and people have been sent to the ISS now just to do some more experiments. First, I think the first private experiments, private sector experiments in history. So, we're getting there. We're getting there. It takes time, but we're getting there.
I'm also very excited about the new approach from NASA to include people in their mission. I mean, we have both signed up, even
The
if it was
tickets,
just
yeah.
the
Yeah.
the tickets. It may sound um, you know childish, but to have the feeling to be part of it, it's 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 really something. I was also
Yeah, yeah.
signing up for the
Definitely.
for the
Yeah.
mission to Europa. Um, I was signing up for the next Artemis mission. I already have my ticket. I posted about that.
We just have to
I'm
board.
I'm I'm very excited about that, right? Because
Yeah.
this
Also,
is
I
giving
think that's a
us
really good
normal
point.
people a little
Yeah.
bit of being part of it, because it's not,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why I like to say we, you know because it is not only the people who are building the rockets. It's we want to be part of it. It's part of
Yes.
humanity. We need to go the next step. It is so important, and I like to take everybody with us, which is one of the reasons why we started the
Exactly. Yeah.
Econauts in the first place.
I just wanted to say that it's exactly the reason the space economy, that's one of the things the space economy has to do better. How to involve everyone. It's not just by media debacle or anything. We have to be able to show everyone what are the advantages of space. Excite everyone about it. Convince everybody that we have to do it, not just to become an interplanetary species, but there's so many reasons and so many benefits for us. So, but we need to get everybody on board and literally
Absolutely, yeah.
on board a spacecraft.
Yes,
The
on the
spacecraft
spaceport.
called the space economy.
Yeah, and it's an investment into the future. I mean, if we look at the achievements only in the last couple of weeks, I mean, was Slim able to land on the moon. I think they have the most precise landing in history. And
Yeah,
and some people may say like, yeah, but the thing, toppled over. This was a good
it
thing.
works now. By the way,
It works now.
they
Yeah, I
get
know.
signals.
I
Yeah, yeah.
I
So they
have
get
I have
signals.
seen I have seen the news. But even if it would have not, I think it would be
Yeah,
the best possible outcome for the Japanese space agency. And
yeah,
I tell you why. Because of this mistake happening now with one lander, they have now the information that they need how to improve, because they have maybe now encountered an issue that they were not aware of in the
yeah,
first place.
yeah,
And
yeah.
now
That's also
think
the
about
reason. Yeah,
if
yeah.
they would have
That
sent like 100 and they
yeah.
had run in this
This is
problem.
where the media often plays a crucial role. Unfortunately, in the for the negative side, um, often space missions have multiple purposes, and the first purpose is usually the major one they want to achieve. The Starship missions are a very good example. They have multiple goals. The first goal is usually the one they want to or need to achieve for mission success, and all the other goals which come after, they're sort of additions, they're a bonus. Everything they achieve is a bonus. But again, as you just said, when they fail, they learn and they can implement in the next mission the mistake, or they can iron out the mistakes. And the main decree of SpaceX is try often, fail fast, and that's exactly what we have to do to sort of move on. We can't just spend little drips here and there and then expect huge steps. We have to make a huge effort to make huge steps.
We all learn from our mistakes. We learn actually more from our mistakes than we actually learn from our successes, right? And that is applying to the space economy as exactly the same as it does to our private encounters, right? It
Definitely, yeah.
is important to make mistakes so that we can move forward. And
Yeah.
and I think we are right now living in a time frame where we are at the stepping stone to actually become a space nation, and that's a very very exciting um, moment to be alive. And again, from my perspective, my 14-year-old me would be would be very excited about that, because I think we already have been at that point, and then suddenly press the pause button because we got scared. And
Yeah.
we as humankind got scared that this might, we got a bloody nose, and suddenly we thought it might be better to stay at home. But no,
Yeah.
we have to
It's
we
never
have to
better.
keep pushing, also in the name of those brave people who gave their lives at the Challenger mission.
I think that was very beautiful and good last words for this episode.
Yes.
So maybe we wrap it up.
We wrap it up. Yeah. Um, was I don't know even know what to say anymore.
That's your part. That's
It's
your
no my
part. I
part.
can't
Okay,
do
so
everything for you.
you cannot do everything for me. All right. Well, if you like this episode, we would like you to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already,
And don't forget to smash that notification bell.
and also maybe leave a comment if you like.
Oh, yeah, that's very
Yeah.
important too.
Okay. I will see you next one. Have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye.